Okay, guys, let's take a look at your frame routine. I want to demonstrate for you what my expectation is for this activity. We're going to start by putting our name at the top of the document. Make sure that you get your name at the top first. Once you've done that, take a look at your key topic box. Today, I'm going to ask you to write a thesis about conflict in the book Shakespeare Scribe. So our key topic is conflict. And the next box, what I will talk about, is where we are a little bit more specific about our topic. So what you will be talking about are 3 conflicts that Widge faces in the book. Okay? So now what I'd like for you to do is to go into your thesis box and take a little bit of time to compose a thesis. Make sure that it includes your topic and what you're going to talk about. Now that you've had enough time to write your thesis, or if you haven't had enough time to write your thesis because you can't write one in 3 seconds, then pause the recording and finish writing your thesis. Good. Now that you've finished, we are going to take a look at main ideas. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think back in the book and think of any big problems that Widge has in the story. So make sure that as you identify some conflicts that Widge faces, that you don't look at little things. For instance, if you are looking at a situation where he doesn't have enough money to buy a drink at the tavern, that's a very small problem. It is a conflict, but it's not the problems that we're talking about when we look at this particular topic. We want those big, dangerous obstacles that Widge faces that he must overcome, and that he must learn something about himself in order to overcome. Okay? So the really big things, the really dangerous things are what we're thinking about here. And in the main idea box, you're going to put those big problems. Okay, so as I'm thinking back to the beginning of the book, I remember it starts and he's talking about his work. His work is hard and it makes him very tired, and he has to constantly do something around the theater. And as the book opens, we see him doing many of these tasks. Now, this is not exactly a conflict because Widge likes to do his work and he needs to have a job, so he's thankful to have his job and he doesn't mind working hard. So that's not the kind of thing that we want to think about when we think about conflict. We want to think about something that's hard that he doesn't want to do, that he is afraid to do maybe. It's a major problem, something he has to overcome, okay? So, I remember at the beginning of the book, they were asked to go and spy on a fellow or a rival theater company called the Blackfriars. And one of the very first things I remember in the story is him running into a man in the crowd that is chewing angelica root. And the smell causes Widge to have a chill run down his spine. And I remember him being very afraid of that man and moving as far away from him as he could so that he would not catch the plague, because angelica root is a known prevention for warding off plague germs. And since Widge had worked for Dr. Bright in the first book, he'd been in the laboratory while Dr. Bright used things like angelica root to treat people with the plague. So, having said all that, I think that the plague is one of the major conflicts in this story. So I'm going to go ahead and put down plague. All right, once you've got a main idea identified and put into your box, you've got to put in some essential details about that particular idea. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're using textual evidence, and that means that it's important that you go back into the book and you find places where that particular conflict is going on and things that the characters are doing to try to overcome that conflict. All right. So I remember that at the beginning of the book, it was maybe in the third chapter, we see the theater company that Widge works for, Mr. Shakespeare's Lord Chamberlain's men. We see that they have to make a decision because one day they go to work and they find a notice on the door announcing that all public performances would be banned. Okay, so I'm going to look back to chapter 3 and see where I can find that. So here I am, I'm flipping my pages, and I find on page 21 that it is in the middle of the page, an order from the Queen. So I'm going to put down that there was an order from the Queen to stop all public performances. And this is on page 21. I'm going to also add to this what this means. So this detail is the reason that the entire story is put into motion, because since they can't perform in London, they decide to go on tour to make money. How about this? To make money. All right, so what I'd like for you to do is I would like for you to identify at least 2 more main ideas, or if you don't want to use the plague, you can identify a different main idea. And I'd like for you to come up with essential details for each of your main ideas. I want at least one essential detail under each main idea, and I want at least one of them to have a page number where you found that detail, okay? And the other detail is okay if you don't have a page number. I want it to be a fact, a piece of evidence from the text, though, okay? So under each main idea, you will have at least one essential detail with a page number and at least one that is a fact, but you do not need a page number for it. If you cannot find 2 essential details for each one today during class, then you'll need to find the other one outside of class for homework. Your last step is a reflection, and we will get to those at some point in the future. When you look at this, you can see at the bottom that I've included your standard. This is what you're expected to be able to do to develop the topic with relevant, well-chosen facts, definitions, concrete details, quotations, or other information and examples. When you're able to do this, like we've talked about in class, you will be able to make your voice heard in a way that's meaningful to the people around you so that you can enjoy a much happier life.